Welcome back to the GenTwenty podcast. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Marina, and today we're going to be talking about how GenTwenty was built. Nicole, you founded GenTwenty back in 2013, right?
Yep.
What was the idea behind it? How did this first spark?
So I always knew, I guess, even in college, I knew that I wanted to start some kind of online community. It actually originally started as something called After College Alternative, which not a lot of people know about. And I got so far as making the website for that, but then my husband and I decided we were moving cross country, and it just wasn't the best time for that to start. So I didn't. And then after living in Seattle for 6 months or so, I decided that it was now or never. So that's when I decided that I was going to start GenTwenty. And kind of the idea was to talk about a lot of the issues that we were going through as 20 somethings. Like, I saw a lot of my friends really struggling to find jobs and jobs that they liked and to negotiate their salaries, and they were struggling with debt, and not to mention like all of these things they were going through with like tumultuous friendships and relationships. And I just really wanted to give a place for people to share their open and honest experiences about those topics.
So was GenTwenty always intended to be collaborator-based?
So, not exactly. Originally, it was my friend Gina and I who were originally writing. She's a co-founder of GenTwenty, and we were kind of bouncing back and forth between us, writing blog posts. Like, I would take one day, she would take one day, and then actually, I used to have this Tumblr account that really focused on like my fitness journey, and Natalie, who was, we followed each other. We were mutuals, as you say, on Tumblr. Like, posted on there that I was starting this website and everything, and she reached out to me and asked if she could contribute. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Why wouldn't we do that? So that's really where the contributor thing started. And then we kind of got this idea, like, why don't we open this up to more people? So we, just started sharing around that we were accepting contributors. And to my surprise, people just kept applying. And I was like, wow, I had no idea this many people out there wanted to write about these things. And so early on, it kind of led to like, we did internships for like college credit for people. And that was like before anything with GenTwenty was monetized. So it was really, really early on. But yeah, I don't know. I never really necessarily started out to have it as a multi-contributor platform, but I'm really glad it evolved that way.
So you went from being your own boss to being your own boss and the boss of contributors. Did you always know that you wanted to be in this kind of leadership role, like that you always wanted to have your own autonomy?
Yeah, I pretty much knew from my college jobs that I would not be working under someone. I don't know, I felt like I was not thriving in a role like that. I don't think I ever really wanted to be in like a direct leadership role, but I think that comes with a job no matter what your job is. Like, you should always be a leader, in my opinion,
For sure.
and have like leadership qualities. But at the same time, I don't think I like directly enjoy managing people. I think I more enjoy managing the brand.
That makes sense. It's definitely a unique set of skills to manage people.
Mhm.
Um, so you mentioned that you were able to monetize, and I imagine that didn't happen right away. What was your first year like as you built and grew GenTwenty?
Well, it was a lot of us pretty much funding it out of our own pockets because, I mean, running a website has its own costs, like, hosting, servers, all this stuff. And basically, I mean, yeah, there was expenses, and I couldn't pay people the first year for their contributions. It actually took me several years to be able to pay people. At the end of every year, I always send everyone like a big gift card. So I just remember like sitting on my couch sending people these gift cards and realizing it was like hundreds of dollars coming out of my own pocket because my business was not yet making money. So yeah, it's a lot of upfront investment, financially and time wise on my part. But I mean, a lot of businesses start that way.
Before you were able to monetize, did you ever feel like you wanted to like give up or stop?
No. I was really motivated, especially like the early years. I think I felt way more connected to GenTwenty's mission when I was in my early to mid 20s than I do now in my late 20s. And I think that's partially just because my generation is really aging into our 30s. So where we're at in our lives is just very different. Like, personally now, like, the start of your career is I just feel very removed from that in a lot of
Hmm.
ways, where so back when GenTwenty started, that was, like, a topic we covered a lot, like, a ton of career stuff, like, easy, like, financial stuff, like, budgeting and things like that. But I feel like now, as I'm, like, entering my 30s, like, most of my friends have conquered the basic budget. They are investing money and things like that, so we're not necessarily focusing on those topics. So I'm still trying to find out, like, the balance of, like, how much of that early stuff do we still need to have.
For sure. And so it's kind of neat that you're growing your business along with the times, which is, I think, important. As the years go on, things change rapidly. So at what point were you able to monetize, and how did you do it?
I wanna say it was, like, 2014, 2015, so probably, like, 18 months to 24 months into starting my business, and it's primarily, like, I mean, GenTwenty is a media platform, so it's primarily through advertising, but I also do some writing for other publications and stuff. That's kind of a side thing, but I still include it under the umbrella of GenTwenty. It's, like, all under the same business. But yeah, primarily through advertising and sponsored posts on the blog and display ads. I added display ads in 2018. So there were no ads on the site before then. And it was really interesting because I was so hesitant to put ads on GenTwenty, like display ads. And when I asked people if they thought it would make a difference, most people were like, "You don't have ads already? I never noticed."
Yeah, I
And I was
remember.
like, "What?"
I remember when you asked me about it back in 2018, and I thought, I don't. Did you have them? I didn't notice. They were
Yeah.
just kind of in the background.
Yeah, because now it's this thing where, I mean, when you go to most websites have ads, and it was like, I w it was, like, kind of a hill, I guess, I was willing to die on at the point where I was like, "I don't really want ads on my website, I don't want them, they're distracting," and, they kind of are in a way, but at the same time, we're so, in tune with them now, I guess, that we just see ads, and it's just a normal part of, like, the online landscape. So, that was a way that was, like, pretty easy to monetize GenTwenty with the amount of people who come to the site, and it helps me sustain the business and continue to pay people, so it makes a big difference to me.
Definitely. So, what is a day behind the scenes like?
Well, so I pretty much do everything for the brand myself. It's, mostly a one girl show. Marina actually, when I was pregnant with my son in 2018, I brought Marina on. She did some VA tasks for me in the background that just, like, especially right after he was born, there's just daily things that I have to do to get things, like, in my social flows and sharing new posts and just stuff like that. I also hired someone to help me edit posts when I was pregnant because I don't know if anyone knew this, but I took, like, about 4 months off of, um, doing pretty much anything for GenTwenty when I was on maternity leave, but I did not want it to seem like that at all, behind the scenes. Like, I didn't want anyone to really know that, anything was going on. So, that I just, like, pushed a baby out of my vagina. Nothing nothing big was happening. But, yeah, so, I scheduled out, like, 5 months of content in advance on top of, like, our normal publishing schedule, which is generally 4 to 6 posts a week, it just depends. I try to keep the same amount of non-sponsored content we have when we do have sponsored content, so when there is sponsored content, you'll also see an increase in non-sponsored content at the same time. But yeah, behind the scenes, it's pretty much just me, and then our contributors, they submit things every Wednesday. We have a calendar, they submit their pitches, I give them assignments, and then I edit their posts when they're submitted and they get up on the calendar. We're usually like 1 to 2 months ahead on content that's ready to go and publish. Yeah, and right now I manage all the social accounts as well.
And so now, it's 2020, you're back from maternity leave, you've been back for a while, and you have an 18-month-old son and work full time. How How has running the business changed since having your son?
I think that I have to be more intentional with my time, especially. And it's like because I have less time, I think, to actually work. Because I mean, now with everything that 2020 has thrown at us, he was originally starting daycare in January, and he was on a 3-day week schedule, so that I would have a couple of really solid days to work and get things done. Because I mean, this is my business, it's my livelihood. And then, Corona happened and everything. So he then came back home full time with me. But my husband also works full time and he is working from home now, which I think makes all of this so much easier because when my son was smaller, like he stayed home the whole time with me. And I pretty much, like, I started going back to work when he was around 4 months old. And I mean, a lot of days I would just put him in the baby carrier and he would nap and I would just be standing there bouncing while I'm like working and writing on my computer. And I mean, that's just what you got to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so recently you launched a new brand. How did Gen30 come about?
So I think Gen30 is like a natural progression after Gen20. And it's really so where Gen20 is this multi contributor platform. Not to say that Gen30 won't ever become that or won't have other voices, but I wanted Gen30 to be primarily just me. For now at least, because I really want there to be a big focus on like motherhood and life in your 30s. And because I mean, motherhood, I became a mom in my late 20s, and it's kind of, a role that I'll have for my whole life, hopefully. Um, and I just really wanted to cover topics like that we do not cover on Gen20. And it's because, I mean, not that there haven't been parenting topics and stuff like that on Gen20, but that was really more my vision for Gen30. And I feel like Gen20 is more of a silent community because it kind of started to me as like my vision for it is like I want you to come across Gen20 when it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep because you don't know what the heck you're doing with your life. And so you're just sitting up Googling, looking for things to make sure that you're not alone and are other people experiencing the same things. Like that was my vision for Gen20, and I
And that
think that's pretty much.
and that's definitely how I found Gen20 was some
Yeah.
late night Googling when I was
Yeah. So
22.
yeah, it's like that was the feeling that I really wanted to encapsulate with everything that Gen20 was writing and putting out and sharing and stuff. And Gen30 is it's more casual, it's more of like an open community, a talkative community where I mean that hopefully it's still in its very like early infancy. It's only a few months old, but I don't know. We'll see where it goes and where it takes me because I do like the multi-contributor model because I like hearing from other people personally. But again, Gen20 is young, or Gen30 is young and small, and we got to see where it goes and how it develops and evolves. But it's a journey that I'm pretty excited for. I don't know if Gen40 will ever be a thing. I might have to make a new career pivot somewhere along there. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
What would you say has been the biggest lesson you've learned in running these two businesses?
I think having a vision is probably one of the most important things, and having like a real reason why and a real purpose for things. I want to say it was like in January of 2018, maybe 2017. I was like really questioning whether or not I should keep moving forward with Gen20, and because I mean it's not that things weren't going well, they were. It was just sort of a question of, is this what I want to be doing? How do I see this like evolving for me? And like, why am I doing this? But I feel like whenever I start to question stuff like that, that's when I start to like get more comments that's like, this post, made a huge impact on me. Like, thank you so much for sharing this story. Like, this resource is amazing and wonderful and valuable and all that stuff. And I feel like those are the things that also help keep me motivated. Like, I mean, the feedback is good in general, but yeah, it's like, I mean, my purpose is to help people have a platform for their voices to help other people. And I'm not an expert on everything. And I mean, most of us aren't, but I think that sharing our personal stories and experiences is so powerful and so important. So I think just, continuing to have that purpose and that why is probably my biggest lesson and is what keeps me moving forward.
I love that. I believe it too. So, what would you say to someone just starting out who is maybe in their 20s or no matter the age wanting to start their own business? What advice would you give for them?
I think something I wish that I had done probably earlier is to understand business a little better and to understand where your income is coming from and how you need to price yourself appropriately and what your services are worth and how you can be valuable to not only your clients but to anyone who is looking for your services and how to really like advocate for yourself and present yourself to other people and understanding like the structure of your business. All right, so Marina has actually been with GenTwenty for quite a while. I want to say since 2014, 2013,
Hmm. Hmm.
somewhere in there. Um, so tell us, Marina, how you found GenTwenty. And I mean, you've been part of GenTwenty in a lot of ways for a while. So, like, just tell us a little bit about your journey with GenTwenty.
Oh, how the tables have turned. So, as I mentioned earlier, I found GenTwenty through Googling. I was feeling pretty lost after I graduated and was trying to figure out how to get the career I wanted. And I knew I wanted to do something with writing, but was just struggling to get a foot in the door anywhere. And I came across, I think from Googling, like how to survive your 20s or something just vague and very much about being sad in your 20s. And GenTwenty popped up, and I started reading the articles and noticed that there was an internship opportunity. And so I started interning with GenTwenty. I got Nicole took a chance and hired me. And then from there, once my internship was up, she asked if I'd like to become a regular contributor. And by that time, I was getting ready to move from my mom's house in California back to the East Coast to New York City, where I was going to start my very first, what I call big girl job with, benefits and a 401k. And I was so scared to try to balance both, but was like, okay, yes, sure. And it ended up being the saving grace because throughout my 20s, GenTwenty has been the constant where when I have these huge life moments, existential crises, if you will. GenTwenty's always been the through line. And I remember almost 2 years into my big girl job, I was miserable and hitting that, like, what am I doing with my life phase again. And I was sitting in my little tiny room in my tiny New York apartment making a pros and cons list, which, if you know me, this will make you laugh because that's very my brand. And I made a pros and cons list of what I like to do, what I wanted to be doing, what made me happy. And I realized that I was the happiest when I was writing GenTwenty essays, and I would write them, on my phone on the subway platform while I went to work, or like as I was falling asleep, I'd jot down notes. And so that's actually the reason why I decided to go back to grad school to get my MFA so that I could continue writing. And it has been just an amazing ride. Nicole is a really wonderful collaborator and is almost always game when I come up with an idea to try or to encourage. So she's helped me blossom my creative spirit a lot too.
Oh, thank you. I'm just so glad that you decided to stay with GenTwenty because I mean, this podcast would not even exist without you. Um,
Oh yeah, like a year and a half ago, right? I was like, Nicole, we should have a podcast.
I know. I mean, I bought my microphone like last summer. It's just been sitting in the box for like, a year casually. It took a whole
Mm,
pandemic for us to get started,
but we did
but
it, and
that's
look at us
okay.
now.
I
Yeah.
know. I know.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where things will go. I think we're going to continue growing and working together for a long time. So,
Forever. We're basically
forever.
family now.
We are the sisters you're the sister I was not biologically given.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mm,
family forever.
I know. Forever.
Well, this has been another episode of the GenTwenty podcast. We would love to hear from you, so please rate and review, and we'll see you next time.